Oh my god! Merry Christmas!
Hello everyone, welcome to the start of my Pac-Man arcade machine restoration series. In this video I wanted to cover the goal of the series, why I'm creating it, what my current experience level is, a little explanation of how I got started in this hobby, and finally an overview of the current state of the game. The goal of this series is to document the restoration of my freshly acquired original Pac-Man arcade machine. My inspiration to start this series stems from my frustration with struggling to find arcade repair information that is readily accessible to complete beginners. Don't get me wrong, there is a ton of awesome information out there. But as someone with limited experience, it can be difficult to relate some of the concepts shown on other arcade machines to my own. My background in arcade repair is essentially zero. I'm a complete beginner in this space. So the point of this series is to not pretend like I have some sort of expert level of knowledge on repairing arcade machines. Instead, I hope to document my progress in learning how to restore this machine and share the information I learn along the way. The hope is that someone like me can use these videos to learn from my mistakes, with the end goal being a product that would have made this journey easier for myself as a complete novice. As a novice, I would also appreciate if experienced technicians would comment on these videos along the way to give me advice, tips, or point me towards resources when I get stuck or do something wrong. One of the coolest aspects of this hobby is how friendly and supportive everyone is when it comes to crowdsourcing information. Any guidance along the way would be extremely appreciated. Alright, now that that is covered, why would someone with very minimal electrical or arcade repair experience dive headfirst into restoring an over 45-year-old arcade machine? A machine that was released 18 years before I was even born. The seed for retro gaming was probably planted when I was very young playing my grandma's old NES, and later fostered after my dad gifted me a Game Boy Color as my first video game console. But it really started after my father purchased the Namco Museum Collection for the family PlayStation 2. This is one of the games we played the most together. As such, I have very fond early memories of many of these early Namco games. Sky Kid comes to mind as an early favorite, probably because I was able to play 2 players simultaneously with my father. The unforgiving nature of this game, at least to an 8-year-old, was both thrilling and evoked hilarious moments with each death. From this point on, anytime there was an arcade machine at the restaurant or the like, I would beg to have a few quarters to play it. As the 2000s went on, arcades and random machines found in restaurants became increasingly more rare. However, by the time I was in college, arcade bars had picked up some steam. The one in my college town did a horrible job at maintaining their machines, but each game was only a quarter, so it wasn't a big deal if something didn't work. We were more so there for the ambiance anyways, as at this point, arcade games were still something for me that were just fun to play on occasion with some friends. However, after college, my now wife and I moved states to our current residence and eventually were invited to our new town's arcade bar with a group of friends. The machines here are much better maintained and it's overall an amazing location with a nice variety of arcade and pinball machines. We settled in to play a game called Pac-Man Battle Royale. If you haven't played this game, try to find one on location. It's a blast to play with a group of 4. This game completely hooked me, but I was disappointed to find there were few options to play this game at home. Eventually, it enticed me to go back to the original Pac-Man game. While I enjoyed the original, I had one issue. I sucked. No matter how much I practiced, I could only achieve around 30,000 points. This prompted me to learn how the ghosts were programmed to chase Pac-Man, and eventually I learned some patterns. As I improved, I realized that the emulated version of the game was failing me. I would consistently get double, triple, or even quadruple the amount of points on original hardware compared to emulated versions of the game, such as an arcade 1-up cabinet. Because at this point I was completely obsessed with the game and all of its mechanics, I knew that one day I would just have to get an original cabinet if I was ever going to make it to that elusive 256 level. That day came earlier than expected when my family schemed to gift me an original cabinet for Christmas. This moment is what was shown at the start of the video. As you can tell, I was both shocked and elated. It may be the best gift I have ever received. However, the cabinet is in some desperate need of some TLC. Everyone in this hobby knows if you're into arcade games, you either need to spend the big bucks on a completely refurbished game and its eventual repairs, or learn how to restore and maintain them yourself. As I am not made of money, I have decided to do the latter option. At this point in my journey, I am extremely intimidated with the amount of information there is to learn. but I am excited to see how I improve over the course of the series. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of where I'm coming from and my motivation for wanting to learn and get into the space. So without further rambling, let's get into the current state of the cabinet. The wood of the cabinet is in pretty good shape. As far as I can tell, there isn't any wood rot or water damage. The condition of the cabinet's art depends on which side you're looking at. I feel the front and left side of the cabinet have acceptable levels of patina. The back has its fair share of scruffs, but who looks at the back side of an arcade cabinet anyways? However, the right side makes me question if I should just repaint the whole thing. There are two moderately deep scrapes towards the top of the cab, and overall this side just has more scratches and chipped off paint compared to the other sides. I'm on the edge of whether or not I want to restore the outside of the cabinet, and I would really appreciate your guys' input on this. On one hand, with a machine this old, each scuff mark tells a story. It was likely on location for years, and these are its battle scars to prove it. It's a part of history, and part of me feels that stripping off its paint and redoing it takes away part of its soul. On the other hand, repainting it and stenciling the cab would really make it pop and restore it to its original glory. So what do you guys think? Should I respect the machine's history or restore it to make it look closer to when it came off the assembly line? Please drop a comment down below. Artwork aside, the control panel is in pretty good shape with just a little bit of rust on the edge facing the player. It also still has its original joystick, which is something I was pleasantly surprised by. There are many modern or recreation joysticks out there, but even the ones that try to mimic the original Pac-Mans still feel a little off. I'm not sure which cabinet the glass came from, but I suspect it is just a generic aftermarket, likely intended for a multi-cab or the like. But if you guys know something I don't, I'd be interested to know where it originated. Please let me know. Next, let's look inside the cabinet. If you are knowledgeable about the inner workings of arcade cabinets, you can probably spot some of the work I've already done. I will cover this upgrade more thoroughly in an upcoming video, but in short, the transformer board assembly was in disarray. Because of this, when the game was turned on, it would smell like something was burning. This upgrade bypasses the original power supply and transformer, allowing for more consistent power. But more importantly, no more burning smell. Another issue I'm currently working on fixing is the monitor. Unfortunately, shortly after moving the cabinet inside of the garage, the CRT developed a vertical collapse. Learning how to repair this has been very daunting for a newbie. A lot of the repair content out there is shown with a different CRT than the one I am working on. The CRT in a Pac-Man cabinet is a Wells Gardner 4600. The more I learn about this monitor, the more I realize it is a pain in the butt to work on, compared to other models. I believe I have figured out how to repair it, but before I tackle that, I need to learn how to properly solder. I will get into this more in a future video, but currently I am learning on old electronics from Goodwill and cheap DIY kits from Amazon. Stay tuned for future videos on how to get into learning how to solder, as well as how to repair vertical collapse on a Wells Gardner 4600 CRT. Lastly, besides a nice deep clean of all of the game's components, I also want to convert the game's current Fast Pac-Man 6F EEPROM chip back to the original normal speed chip. The fast version of Pac-Man is fun to play, but I'm an original Pac-Man purist at heart. Well, that about sums up the current state of the game. Thank you for joining me at the start of this exciting restoration journey. I'm eager to learn alongside you, sharing every step, successes and setbacks alike, as I bring this classic piece of gaming history back to life. Whether you're a fellow novice or experienced technician, I hope this series becomes a helpful resource and a welcoming space for collaboration. Together, we'll uncover the secrets of this iconic machine and celebrate the magic of arcade's golden era. Stay tuned for the next episode where we dive deeper into the restoration process. If you enjoyed this video and want to follow along, please leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know what your personal favorite arcade game is. Thank you for watching.